Hello, I'm Brewbot Bob. I've been invited here to tell you all about how beer is made. First we will look at the 4 fundamental ingredients. Let's get started. Malt. Malt is germinated grain, usually barley, that has been dried or roasted in a process called kilning. Malt contains the enzymes that convert starches into sugars. Because malt provides sugar, the more malt added to the beer the higher the level of alcohol will be. Malts also provide the color of beer. Hops. Hops are the least well understood part of brewing. They are chemically very complex. Hops provide the bitterness that complements the sweetness of malt. The amount and kind of hops added to a beer can determine the beer's style. For example, the difference between a pale ale and an IPA is typically the amount of hops used. Water. The water source for a beer can have a large effect on its flavor. Several famous breweries have very distinctive water sources. Another important role water plays in the brewery is cleaning and sanitation. The wastewater generated from these activities is also a major concern for breweries. Yeast. Yeast is probably the most important ingredient. Without yeast there would be no alcohol. Beer would simply be a syrupy sweet liquid, with an lingering bitter flavor. Just as with hops and malt, there are several kinds of yeast, all of which provide unique character to the beer they are fermenting. Fermentation is a living process, so the health of the yeast matters as much as what kind of yeast it is. Maintaining consistent temperatures is crucial to producing a consistent product. Breweries are fast-paced and time-constrained production facilities. All of these ingredients have natural variation that could affect the consistency of the finished beer. Many other things can, and are added to beer, but, of the hundreds of different beer styles, all are made from the varying combinations of these 4 ingredients. Cheers! Now that you know what beer is made from, let's take a look at how beer is made through the typical modern brewing process. Step 1. Water is heated in the hot liquor tank. The HLT is basically an industrial-sized hot water tank. Step 2. Hot water and crushed malt are added to the mash lort tun. The MLT is a vessel that serves 2 purposes. 1. When starch conversion occurs, the temperature has to be tightly controlled in order to get the desired malt flavors. Starch conversion provides sugar, so this is the most important function. Next, the sweet liquid needs to be separated from the grains. This is the second function of the MLT. The sweet liquid, now called wort, is moved to the brew kettle. The boil is an important process because this is when hops are added to the beer. Boiling also drives off undesired flavors left over from the grain. Step 4. The beer is cooled rapidly and fermentation begins. The fermenter is where the yeast is introduced and where the wort becomes beer. It is important that the wort is cooled quickly so that spoilage organisms can't take hold. Once fermentation is complete, which can take several weeks, the beer is ready to be carbonated. The bright tank is where CO2 is added to beer. The gas is injected under high pressure so that it is absorbed quickly. This is the best process for getting consistent carbonation. The last step in the process is packaging the finished beer. There are several ways to package beer. For retail consumers there are bottles and cans. For bars and restaurants there are kegs as well. Packaging is where a lot of waste occurs. This has been how beer is made. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Cheers!